Hey, hi, how are you? I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope that your day and your week is going as smooth as it could possibly be under these circumstances. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about information, and really this might be the first real meta video that we have, where we talk about a lot of different things that we already covered to some degree. Most notably, the video titled The Complexities of Life in Terabyte Form, where we kind of went over basically that the world is very complex, and if you take any issue, like let's just say Ukraine, then there's a lot of information to consider. And really, it all just comes down to what your sources are. Where do you actually get your information? What pundits, what newspapers, what books, what people, what have you? Are you basing your worldview on a bunch of Hollywood movies, or are you basing your worldview on a whole bunch of investigative journalism? Sources matter. Sources are the most important thing. If you take a research paper, realistically, the research paper is only as good as the cited sources, because that's kind of what gives you the material for the rest of the actual paper. I like to ask people what their sources are all the time, because I like to ask myself the same question. You know, if I have a thought, I like to think, can I actually, prove this to myself? Can I prove this to someone else? What exactly do I have as evidence to propose as something that I regard as truth? So, of course, when it comes to Ukraine, there is, again, a lot of information. Even something as seemingly clear-cut as an authoritarian dictator invading another country for a few select reasons, legacy, a buffer zone between NATO countries, and of course, resources. And of course, despite how clear-cut it may seem, there is still information that is below the surface. It's not just another newspaper headline of evil man bad. But again, it all goes back to your sources. What exactly are you watching, or what exactly are you consuming that gives you the belief that you hold currently? I've already talked on the channel a little bit in each video about where I get my sources from. But even outside of the wall behind me that is still very incomplete and still needs a lot more work, there are still those main sources that I seek out, that I try to hit at least once a day or a few times a week. Sources that I trust, sources that I find give me good, well-rounded information, and I try to have a variety so that I'm not just getting one flavor of information, which can be valuable, but I get a full spectrum of different kinds of information. And when it comes to something like Ukraine, where things are unfolding relatively quickly, there's a new event every hour or two, it seems, it's just very interesting to look at different media outlets or different individuals, people that just share their thoughts or their analysis on the situation. It's very interesting to watch a few segments of those kind of sources just to see what kind of stuff they're saying, right? Noam Chomsky is going to give you a much different take on the situation than, say, Jordan Peterson. Bo of the Fifth Column is going to give you a much different perspective than Russell Brand. Tucker Carlson is going to give you a much different perspective than Rachel Maddow. It's just, when there's so much going on, it's so easy to get sucked into one information stream, and then that just kind of dictates the whole thing. But I'm having a lot of fun kind of going in between different styles of reporting, different styles of conveying information. Are they trying to invoke fear in you? Are they trying to make you war hungry? Are they trying to persuade you to think in a different way than what you probably should be. Of course, that is subjective to every single person, but I guess for me, I just kind of get a kick out of that, breaking that information bubble that we all find ourselves in. Because, I mean, regardless, one way or another, the algorithm will just feed you the information that you already seek out, and so it's very hard to really break out of that information bubble unless you actively do it yourself. And I do try to, on the occasion that I have the time to do so, and again, it just goes back to the idea that staying well informed is incredibly difficult. Not everyone has the time to just sort through 10 different media sources in hopes of picking apart each one and getting a little bit of information from each one. It's definitely not always so cut and dry. There is always another side to the story. Does your information source actually cater to a third party who would somehow benefit from the information that they put out? Do they have ties to arms manufacturers? Do they have ties to oil companies? You know, who has a stake in that media outlet? Who would have a vested interest on the kind of, for lack of a better term, propaganda that they just kind of turn out? There is always an information war, and I don't mean that in like the InfoWars kind of way. I mean that in like there's always a genuine battle to put out a separate narrative. A narrative that fits your side. And it's not always so cut and dry. Which brings me to my next point of what I was already kind of getting at, and that comes down to breaking your information bubble when you feel obligated to do so, I guess. Especially the stuff that you don't necessarily agree with. Like, I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but I'll watch his fucking show just so I can understand what people who do watch his rather popular show are thinking and consuming. This is 2 separate videos. It is good to listen to opposing viewpoints, and there is no real super clear-cut answer to any real geopolitical conflict. There is always a long history. There is always many factors at play, and it's really hard to keep up with it all. So yeah, we can talk about some of those other topics later. In the meanwhile, I hope everyone is doing well, and let me know in the comments if you have a particular source that you think is very well-rounded, or, you know, a source that you feel like informs you rather than inflames you. Who do you think has the most accurate information on the topic of Ukraine? Who do you think has a lot of insight and can really be learned from on that topic in particular? Or where do you just normally get your information from? Is it Reddit? Is it the Drudge Report? Is it ABC? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And if you are new to the channel, hey, like and subscribe, because I'm documenting the journey of what it's like to go from 0 subscribers to however many we get. So if you would like to be a part of that, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and thank you for being a part of the count. Alright guys, I will see you next week, so until then, take care of yourself, and don't let the stress get to you too much if you can. But, alright, I'm out. Later.